Which brand do you think is the most hated in America? Some of you may think Facebook or Meta, as they're now called, because they recently had the highest drop of value in the entire history of the American stock market. But what is the correct answer to this question? It is not Facebook. The most hated brand in the United States of America, according to Rave Reviews, is Uber. How did they acquire this information, you may ask? Rave Reviews used the top 100 brands in the world and scraped each mention of them on Twitter, and could therefore identify which one got the most hate. Thanks to this discovery, I am today going to go through the entire history of Uber, from the beginning to how they eventually became the most hated brand in America. Grab a glass of water and roll the intro. Greetings and warm welcome to the most fabulous place on the internet, where we talk about the most interesting things, but unnecessary. I am JJ Productions. Sit back, relax and enjoy the video. It all started with the best friends Trevor Kalanick and Garrett Camp, who attended Le Web, which is a tech conference in France, in Paris, and this took place in the year of 2008. But wait, it all began earlier, as both of these men were successful and rich long before they founded Uber. Travis Kalanick co-founded the company Red Swoosh, which I had never heard before researching for this video. Apparently, it was a peer-to-peer file-sharing company which included indexed online clients and caches. Kalanick sold the company in 2007 for $19 million to the tech company Akami Technology. Garrett Camp had a similar success story. He founded the advertisement engine StumbleUpon that recommended web content to its users. He sold his business in 2007 to eBay for well over $75 million. He stayed the CEO of the company even after he sold it. Now that you know a brief story about Travis and Garrett, let's get back to the Le Web conference, which took place during the winter. The two of them were looking to find a way to get to the conference, but they were unable to find a taxi. That's when one of them had a brilliant idea. He said, "What if you could order a cab from your phone?" The two didn't take the idea seriously, and Kalanick forgot about it fairly quickly. Days later, when Camp returned to San Francisco, he couldn't get the thought out of his head. What if you could order a cab from your phone? He picked up his computer and bought the domain name ubercab.com. This was in 2008, and the story wouldn't take a rapid pace until the next year. Camp started a prototype for Uber Cab in his spare time. He didn't have time or knowledge to develop the company on his own, so he picked up the phone, called his best friend Kalanick and convinced him to join the company. Thankfully, he said yes. Without that phone call, we wouldn't have Uber today. They tested the service in New York City with only 3 cars to figure out what the public reception would be like. Later that year, the company officially launched back in San Francisco. The service was quite groundbreaking. It let you order a black car with only your phone. Minutes later, it appeared right in front of you magically. The payment was automatic and you didn't tell them where you were, because the GPS location in the phone would let the app tell them where to deliver the taxi. The company grew quickly into one of the biggest growing startups. The company went international and launched their first services in Paris, where Kalanick and Cam first had their idea. A big part of the success and swift growth can be owed to the big fundings they received. It raised many millions of dollars. One of the companies that raised most cash in the world. The business initiated a new service called UberX. It offered the customers to order a less expensive hybrid car. Uber becomes the highest value startup in the world, valued at 51 astonishing big bucks. Uber shows their financial status and fascinatingly shows a loss at $3.8 billion, mostly thanks to their unsuccessful launch in China, which they would eventually go on to sell. This was the year the decline was starting for real. A former Uber engineer wrote a blog post not short of 3,000 words where she described the atmosphere of the workplace as sexism and offensive. The blog post spread like wildfire on the internet. It forced Uber to take action. It launched an investigation which was known as the Holder investigation. After the investigation, they had to fire multiple high-level employees and a total of 20 people had to leave. Later that year, letters that confirmed Kalanick was part of the hostile culture were released to the press. A video where he argued to a staff member about lowering the price of the service was also released to the public. This didn't help with their reputation, and the decline was taking place for real. The shareholders weren't pleased with Kalanick and forced him to let go of his position as CEO of the company. He stepped down and his place took Dara Khosrowshahi. Dara Khosrowshahi. Dara Khosrowshahi took over as the corporate executive officer. Uber suffers from a serious setbacks as the valuation of the company reflects. It drops roughly 30% of its market, from $68 billion down to $48 billion. Sorry for the pronunciation, but Khosrowshahi is still the CEO of the company. In the beginning of 2009, they operated only in the USA. Now they exist in more than 65 countries and well over 600 cities around the world. The company, as I mentioned before, is considered to be the most hated company in the United States of America. The conclusions to why they are the most hated brand in America can be drawn to as many controversies. They seem to never catch a break. That was the story of Uber, the #1 hated company in America. For more interesting but unnecessary facts, consider subscribing and comment down below. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Thank you, family.